Welcome back, Bang Bang Gangers, to this edition of Bang Bang Soul Bowls. Today I have for you these unchicken drumsticks, or you can easily make these into chicken wings by removing the or not adding the popsicle stick. So let's get started on this recipe. In this bowl, I have 2 cans of drained and rinsed jackfruit that was in brine. And what you want to make sure that you do is you want to make sure you rinse and drain your jackfruit very, very well. Because if not, that briny flavor will transfer over into your recipe. So what I do with my jackfruit is I go through and I sort it. I take off the core from the pieces. I take the core and the seeds out and I blitz them up in a little mini food processor, and I add those to my recipes too. There's no need to discard that when it's perfectly usable food that we could eat. So in this pan I added a tablespoon of vegetable oil and the jackfruit, and what we're going to do, we're going to saute this jackfruit up and flavor it up for our chicken drumsticks. So now I am going to add 2 tablespoons of poultry seasoning, and this one here, I use the Bell's poultry seasoning. I really like this one. And I also am adding a tablespoon of garlic and herb seasoning to that as well. And then I'm going to come in with a tablespoon of mushroom powder that I made myself. I took a bag of dried shiitake mushrooms, like a 5-ounce bag, and I used some fried garlic, black pepper, bouillon, salt, little MSG, and some different seasonings to make my mushroom powder. They sell the same vegetarian powder or the mushroom powder at the Asian market, but I wasn't about to spend $15 on a bag of seasoning when I could spend a $5 on a bag of dried mushrooms and make my own. So here we have this Massey's stock cubes. These are all natural, all vegetable. There are no chicken fat, no hydrogenated chicken in these bouillon cubes. They are vegan and they are 100% natural, and they are also low sodium. So that is a plus because we want to make sure that we control our own salt intake and control the flavors that we have in our food. And so I just smush the bouillon cube up in there, and now I'm going to add about that container has 2 cups of alkaline water in it. If you ever see me add any water to my dishes on my channel, just know that that water is always going to be alkaline water. And so we're going to get that incorporated and smush up the bouillon cube, let that get going in our jackfruit mixture. And after we get all this done, like the bigger pieces of the jackfruit, some pieces are still haven't been broken down yet, so I help those along by smushing them with my spoon. So after that, we are going to cover this up and let it go for about 10 minutes. The total cook on this is maybe going to be like 15 minutes. So after about 10 minutes, we're going to come back and check on it and do any adjustments to seasoning if we need to, and to add any more water if I need to. It just depends on how tender the jackfruit will be when I return. About 10 minutes, you can see that most of the water has been absorbed, and I'm going in here and just, like I said, breaking up some of the bigger pieces so that we can get those incorporated, make sure that all of our seasoning gets into our jackfruit mixture. And I'm going to taste it to see if I need to do any adjustment to seasoning, if I need to add any more salt, if I need to add any more seasoning. I think at at that moment, I felt like we needed a little more chicken flavor, so I'm going to add another bouillon cube to our mixture, and I'm going to add the remaining of the water. As you can see by just looking at the jackfruit, it's getting tender, and the water is absorbing, so all of that flavor is going into our jackfruit mixture. So I'm going to add that bouillon, and then I'm going to add some more of the rest of the alkaline water that's in that container, and we're going to let this go for another 5 minutes, and when we come back, we will finish the process. After about 15 minutes, all the liquid has been absorbed in the jackfruit, and we are going to go ahead and start putting this thing together. And what I'm going to do now is add some mung bean starch, which I got this from my local Korean store. I got this idea from the Sauce Stache. I don't know if you guys have seen his videos before, but he does some amazing, innovative things with vegan food. I'm going to put a link to his video in the description box below, and you can check him out to see how he created his vegan chicken patties using the mung bean starch. And what the mung bean starch does, it kind of brings the mixture together, and it acts as a fat in the jackfruit, and a little goes a long way. So what I'm going to do, I think I just added maybe like a half a teaspoon to this, and maybe like a teaspoon of water, and you just want to create a little slurry, and just make sure you just mix it in, incorporate it in really good. And then we're going to add that into it, and the mixture has to be still warm, and that activates the mung bean starch. And as you can see, it's kind of pulling the mixture together and kind of keeping it together. So that's what the starch is for. But if you want to leave it out, you can. This is just my take on how I make these chicken drumsticks. Well, unchicken drumsticks. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the jackfruit to this bowl. And what I have in this bowl here is a half a cup vital wheat gluten, a fourth a cup nutritional yeast, 2 tablespoons mushroom powder, 2 tablespoons chickpea flour, and some Himalayan pink salt is also included in that. And we're going to mix that up very well, make sure we get all the ingredients incorporated, and then we are going to add our jackfruit mixture to that. To the mixture, we are going to add our jackfruit, which has cooled down a little bit. We're going to go ahead and place that in the bowl with the vital wheat gluten, chickpea flour, nutritional yeast. One thing I've learned about working with vital wheat gluten, that it responds differently when you're adding either cold liquid, room temperature liquid versus warm or hot liquid to the wheat gluten. It changes the structure of the flour. So I like to add either something warm or hot to the flour, because to me it changes the structure and it makes it more, it gives it a different texture. It gives it more of a meaty like texture to me. So I like to work with it when with a broth, or when I'm adding things to it. I like for those things to be warm or hot, because it just makes it works better for me that way. But I'm pretty sure if you let this mixture cool off longer, and if you want to handle it when it's it's cooled down more, I'm pretty sure that it'll turn out fine. So we're just gonna keep mixing this in and make sure all of the vital wheat gluten and the jackfruit gets mixed thoroughly. Now it's time to assemble our drumsticks. So in this cup I have a cup of warm water with a chicken bouillon that is still dissolving. So I'm gonna help that along, break that up, and just mix it with the fork to get those last pieces of granules dissolved in the water. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just don't want to have plain water when we are dissolving our spring paper, our rice paper rolls to wrap our chicken drumsticks. So I'm just going to go in and make sure I get most of that incorporated into the water. So here I have just some craft sticks that I got from the store, and that's going to act as our bone in our drumsticks. And then I have these spring roll wrappers that I get from my local Korean store, one of my favorite places to shop. I can just go in that store and get lost for hours looking at all of the different products that they offer and the things that they have, and actually that's where I pull a lot of my inspiration from my dishes from as well. So right now I'm struggling to open this rice paper pack, but once it's open, what we're going to do is get the we're going to rehydrate each rice paper piece of rice paper into the broth, and I have the square sheets today, and I'm going to start off with a whole sheet. We may not need the whole thing, so I'll probably I'm going to be making adjustments throughout this video and probably go to half sheets, but we want to go in and get that hydrated, and right now I'm just trying to figure out what's the best setup for me here. So I took I don't know, maybe a golf ball size piece of the jackfruit mixture, and I just molded around the popsicle stick to kind of look like it's a chicken leg. I mean, yeah, so what I went ahead and did, and I just ripped it in half because I didn't think that we needed that whole thing to wrap the chicken leg. So the rice paper acts as a skin to our chicken legs, and what it does is that it creates another dimension to the drumsticks, because we could have very easily just went ahead, took that mixture, battered it up, and fried it without having the skin on it. But I think that that added rice paper just makes it more interesting, adds another dimension to the drumstick. So at the end, that's what you will get when you how it should look when you're done wrapping your popsicle stick. So what I did, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys another piece, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of them off camera, and then we're going to come back and I'll show you how to fry them all up. So I just used the other half of the sheet that I had already hydrated, just wrap it up. Make sure it's wrapped thoroughly. All the pieces are sticking. Anything that you don't need, like any pieces that you feel like you don't need on the drumstick, just take them off, and just take it off. And I mean, that's plenty what we have there. We just want to make sure that the vital wheat gluten is thoroughly coated. So Alright, when I come back, I'll have the rest of them done. So here we are, the final wrapped drumsticks. As you can see, that 2 cans of jackfruit and the Vitawood wheat gluten made a pretty substantial amount of little drumsticks. And what I'm showing you now is that off camera, I went ahead and I cut the wrappers into 4 pieces. So you only need 1/4 of a wrapper to make this size drumsticks. So now we are going to batter these and fry them. I have my oil heating up now to 350 degrees. And in that bowl I have, which I'm going to put all of the measurements below. I have some ground flaxseed meal, and also some almond milk, and also a cup of flour, and that acts as a little batter. And then the first bowl to the left is just a bowl of plain white flour, and this one is going to be our seasoned flour. So to this bowl, we're going to add a tablespoon of oregano, and then we have a tablespoon of the garlic and herb seasoning. Then we have a tablespoon of cumin. Then we have a tablespoon of Cajun seasoning, and then we have 2 tablespoons of the mushroom powder, and then a tablespoon of paprika. And so we're just gonna give that a mix and make sure all of the seasoning is incorporated into that flour. As you can see here, I am thoroughly mixing the flour, the flaxseed meal, and the almond milk together. There's a couple clumps of flour that I wanted to get out, and I wanted to make sure that that was fully incorporated. And also to our seasoned flour mixture, we're going to add a secret ingredient of mine, which I got from Mary's. It's not a secret ingredient of mine. I got it from Mary's test kitchen when she made her the best chicken out of the tofu. She breaded her tofu chicken with some crushed crispy rice cereal. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm adding that to my flour mixture, which it's going to add a great crunch to our drumsticks. So what I did with this one, I had already put it in the plain flour and the wet batter, and now I'm just putting it in the seasoned flour and making sure that it's thoroughly coated. We want to make sure that that seasoned flour sticks on there really good. So again, you will put it in the plain flour first, and then you will put it, shake off the excess of that. Then you're going to put it into the wet batter mixture. Make sure all of that drips off. Make sure that it is thoroughly coated. And then we are going to put it into the final seasoned flour. And we're going to make sure we get that seasoned flour onto those drumsticks really good, because we want to have a nice crisp coating on the drumsticks. So I'm going to do the rest of the pan, and I'm going to come back once it's time to fry. So here we have the fryer ready to go. It's 350 degrees. All of our drumsticks have been battered, and we're going to put this in our fryer. We're going to cook these until they are golden brown. It should take no more than 10 minutes for these to fry up. But I'm going to load up my my little pan I have here with oil in it. And in this pan, I just have vegetable oil. So we're going to go ahead and let that do its thing. And I'm going to, turn it and make sure it's all good. And like I said, we're going to fry these up until they are golden brown. All right, after about 10 minutes, I came in. Of course, I was flipping the chicken over, and as you can see, I cranked up the heat just a little bit on these. But I realized after I cooked my second batch that they just go in hot, and then the oil just fizzles down once they're almost completed cooking. So you don't have to worry about them being underdone or anything, or the oil looking like it's not hot enough. It's plenty hot. It's just the nature of the drumsticks as they cook. So as you can see, I have a baking sheet with paper towels in the bottom, and then I have a rack on top of the baking sheet. So any excess oil can drip through the grate, and then we're left with these delicious, crispy unchicken drumsticks. So we're going. I'm just taking them out the fryer right now, and I'm going to go ahead. They are hot. Just excuse my fingers. I've been cooking a long time, so they may not seem hot to me, but they are hot. So make sure you handle those with care. And I'm just setting them up in there because any oil that's in between that stick and the interior, I want it to drop down and just drip away from that. So I'm going to go ahead on and put in our second batch, and then after these are done, we are going to sauce them up. And then like I said, I'll have all the descriptions, all the ingredients listed in the description box below once we're done with this. Here we are, our delicious unchicken drumsticks. Look how good these look. They taste just as amazing as they look. Believe me. Look at that crust, that coating on those unchicken drumsticks. They are unbelievable. The best chicken, the best vegan chicken that I've made in a while. So we're going to sauce up these wings. So in this bowl we have okay, I'm just going to put just some plain ones there at the end. In this bowl, this is a hot teriyaki sauce, and I'm just going to add some of those in there, and we're just going to dress those up really quickly. I'm trying my little chef skills here. Ain't working out, so I'm just going to turn it with my fingers. This sauce here was by far my favorite one. It was like I said, it was a hot teriyaki based sauce. I am going to put the description. Actually, there's a link. I'm going to put a link to where I got the sauces, the recipes for the sauces from, in the description box. This one is a chipotle honey. It's not actually made with honey, but agave, blue agave nectar, and some chipotle peppers. This was also a really good sauce, but that teriyaki one was my favorite, but this one is also good. And then after we sauce these up, the next one is going to be a classic buffalo wing sauce. So that is going to be our the buffalo wing sauce. That will be our third and final sauce. So I'm just going to get 3 more of those drumsticks in here and toss those up and plate those on the plate. And then I'll show the final product. Here we go, this delicious plate of sauced and dressed drumsticks. Now it's time for a taste. So I started off with the plain ones. They are delicious. I just wanted to give you guys a peek onto the inside of what these unchicken drumsticks look like. They are fantastic. And as I tell everyone, you do not have to be a vegan to eat vegan food. Put something nutritious in you sometimes. Put some plant-based products in your body sometimes. It's a world of change. I can tell you that. The teriyaki one, that's the one that I like the most. That was my favorite. Just look at the inside of these unchicken drumsticks. But all the ingredients and the links will be in the description box. The Sauce Stache, I'll link him in the description box. The link to the ingredients for the sauces I'll put into the description box. Also, thank you guys for returning and watching my video. Please make sure you share, you like, you subscribe, you comment. Let me know if there's anything that you want to see me make vegan. I can definitely do that. Just stay tuned and more things to come. Thank you. And as always, have a Bang Banglicious day.